I love these sleeves. I like that the bell sleeve is coming back in. These are so fun. I love these sleeves. I have a lot of sleevey shirts like this. Hey Health Nuts, welcome back to Health Nut Nutrition. My name's Nicole and today we are doing another meal prep video. You guys love these videos. They're my most viewed videos on my channel, so I really love doing them for you guys. You guys are always sending me photos of your weekly meal preps and giving me feedback on how your family likes it, how your husband or wife likes it. So it's really cool to see that, and I feel like we are taking over YouTube with this meal prep series. So today I thought, because holidays are around the corner, or they're here, we would do a holiday meal prep. And basically this is a little bit different because we're not necessarily doing like breakfast, lunch, and dinner and snacks. We're more so just like prepping a holiday meal, and then you can even use this to make kind of different lunches and dinners throughout the week, or you could just use this for any holiday dinners that you have coming up. I think this is going to give you really some fun ideas that you can do around the holidays for dinner time with your family and friends. And stay tuned till the end because I have some giveaway details that I want you guys to know about. All right, let's hop right in. Okay, so with any epic holiday meal, you of course need the star of the show, which in today's case is my roasted chicken. And I haven't roasted a chicken in so long, and I really wanted to perfect this one. I received this delicious organic chicken from a local butcher here in Toronto, and I wanted to give it some justice, and it turned out amazing. So I'm gonna share with you guys exactly what I did to achieve this perfect roasted chicken. So basically when you're roasting either a chicken or a turkey, you want to create kind of a bottom foundation so that the actual airflow can cook all around the meat. You don't want to just have the chicken straight on the pan. That's what I think personally. So I like to do kind of like an edible food rack. So I did a combination of some organic tomatoes, or potatoes I mean, and carrots. I just peeled the carrots, chopped everything up, I layered it on the bottom, and then I also put a couple of wedges of lemon just to kind of, once it like evaporates in the oven, it's just gonna kind of give the chicken a little steam bath and make it all lemony tasting. And I love like salt, pepper, and lemon with chicken. So then for the chicken, I just gave it a quick rinse. Well, I fully thawed it, gave it a quick rinse, and I let it completely dry, or you can towel dry it as well because you want the skin to get nice and crispy. And then all you have to do is lay it on top of your root vegetables. I'm gonna give the whole circumference of it a good rub down with some ghee. And ghee is clarified butter, and you can of course use regular butter, you can use coconut oil. I wouldn't use olive oil because it's gonna get really hot in the oven, so I would use a high smoke point oil. So I use ghee, I gave it a really good rub down, and then I personally like to stuff my chicken. You can of course, if you're doing a turkey, stuff it with like stuffing, but if you're not making stuffing, or you don't want to stuff your chicken or turkey, you can also just put things like lemon wedges, fresh herbs. I'm using thyme, tarragon, and rosemary for this one. And using fresh herbs in your cooking gives it so much flavor without having to use a ton of salt. And then use whatever spices you like. So I have some like lots of sea salt, black pepper, and I did a little bit of smoked paprika on the top, just for some color really, and I like the taste of smoked paprika, it's really good. Then you're just gonna pop this into a preheated oven at 400 degrees Fahrenheit. So I ended up cooking mine for 1 hour and 15 minutes. You wanna make sure that the skin is all nice and golden brown and crispy, and then once it's done baking, you just wanna let it rest before you cut into it. So just let everything settle about 10 to 15 minutes, and then you're ready to carve right in. So what I actually ended up doing, I just carved all the meat away from the bones, and then I just actually made bone broth in my slow cooker with the bones, along with some other spices, onion, carrots, celery. I actually have a video I will link down below. It's very old and embarrassing, but if you guys want to watch it to find out how I did it, you can check it out there. But yeah, that's how I did the chicken. All right, next up, I made my apple chestnut stuffing, and you know, it doesn't have to be Thanksgiving to have stuffing. I feel like stuffing is so delicious on its own with gravy on top. That could be my main and I would be happy. So for the stuffing, I already pre-roasted my chestnuts, and I tell you guys how to do that in the blog post, which I'll link down below. And if you don't want to use chestnuts, you can also use like walnuts, would work as well in this recipe. You'll also want to pre-cube whatever bread that you're using, whether it's sourdough or Ezekiel bread, the night before, or at least a couple hours ahead of time, just so it kind of gets a little dried out and stale, because that is what's going to soak up all the delicious juices from the stuffing, and it's going to just make it really delicious when it bakes in the oven. So in a large skillet on medium heat, you're gonna warm up your butter and just saute your shallots for a little bit, and then you can go ahead and add in your celery, your leeks, and your garlic, and just saute that for about 3 minutes until everything gets really fragrant. Next, you can add in your chopped up apple, your chestnuts, your fresh herbs, as well as your chicken or vegetable broth, whatever you guys want to use, and any spices that you're going to be adding. Stir everything together and then just cook it for about 5 to 6 minutes on low to medium heat. Next, to prep the bread, all you're gonna do is transfer all your bread cubes into a large mixing bowl. This is gonna make it really easy to kind of toss everything together. And I like to add in all my dry spices at this point, so all the bread kind of is evenly coated in all the spices before we mix it in with the wet. Now that we have our wet and our dry all mixed, we can go ahead and combine the two. So add in your wet mixture in with the dry, and then using a spatula, just kind of mix everything together. It's gonna slowly soak up all of the liquid, and depending on what bread you're using or how dry or moist it is, you might want to add in a little bit more broth. So just have that on hand. The bread I used, I actually ended up needing to add about a cup more of extra broth. So don't think you're doing something wrong if that happens. It's totally normal. Just mix everything really well together. I will even get in there with my hands at the end because you can really feel the texture of the bread and kind of tell if it needs more liquid or not. So once you have everything mixed, you can go ahead and transfer this into a loaf pan. You can of course use this to stuff inside a turkey, or you could use a cookie tray, but it's not gonna get as moist and delicious inside. We're kind of, the loaf pan is almost mimicking a turkey. So you're gonna place everything, pack everything tight into the loaf pan, cover it with foil, and then go ahead and place that into a preheated oven at 350 Fahrenheit and bake for about 35 minutes. And then afterwards you can remove the foil and bake it for another 15 minutes so the top can get nice and golden brown. And once it's done, just take it out of the oven, let it rest for 15 minutes before you actually serve it, and you have some homemade stuffing. Next up, we're gonna make my super easy roasted butternut squash. And I'm actually gonna do this 2 different ways because half of it is gonna be used in a salad that we're making. So it's kind of getting 2 uses out of the same vegetable. So I'm gonna just slice it in half. Make sure you have a really sharp knife and a sturdy cutting board to do this, or ask a friend that's really strong to do it for you. So once you have it sliced in the middle, make sure you de-seed it, and then take half of the squash and go ahead and peel it. I find it's easier to peel when it's already cut in half because you can kind of just hold it from both sides and peel it, and I don't know, it's just much easier for me. And then just cut that one into cubes, and that's gonna be our butternut squash croutons for our salad that we're gonna be making. For the other one, you can just lay it flat on your cookie sheet, and I just took the leftover ghee that I had, I gave everything a really good rub down, and then added all my spices. You're gonna roast everything in the oven at about 400 degrees Fahrenheit for about 45 minutes, depending on your oven. You might need to cook it a little bit longer. You want the butternut squash to be fork tender and then the cubes to be nice and roasted, and I'll just toss them halfway through while they're baking so all the sides get nice and crispy. Once your butternut squash is done roasting, you can just let it cool slightly, and then using a spoon, just kind of scoop out all of the butternut squash meat into a bowl, and then give it a really good mash, either with a potato masher or a fork like I did, because I don't have a potato masher. I feel like I did, I don't know where it went. And then you have delicious roasted butternut squash mash. So we're also gonna do some French green beans on the side because I love just simple steamed veggies. But actually in this case, we're gonna boil them just slightly. So I have a large pot of water that I brought to a boil, and then I just chopped off the bad ends. You know how the peas or the beans always have one weird end? I just cut all those off, and then I rinsed them really well, and I placed them right into the pot of boiling water, and you're kind of just blanching them. So I only cooked them for about 3 to 5 minutes. And then once they're done, I just pull them out and I drain it, and I transfer them to an ice bath. That way they stay nice and green. You know when you see sad, bland looking green beans that are gray and soggy? A, they've been cooked too long, and B, it's best when you do the ice bath, I guess, because it just holds that beautiful bright green color. So I really like to do that, especially if I'm gonna be storing them in the fridge for a few days. I want them to stay nice and crisp and fresh. Now for my autumn Caesar salad, this is an awesome salad for this time of year because you're basically just using sliced Brussels sprouts and kale for the base. So it's great for meal prepping because you can basically put your dressing on the salad and store it in the fridge for a couple of days without it getting soggy. But it's also just a really nice hearty salad that's actually gonna fill you up. So for this, I actually used my food processor, and I just went ahead and put the slicing attachment on it, and I sliced up my Brussels sprouts and my kale, and it makes like perfect shreds. You can of course do this with a knife, but I find it takes much longer. So just invest in a food processor. It's amazing. I feel like everyone should have one, and I'll link the one I used down below in the info box. And then for toppings, I'm throwing on some pumpkin seeds, some fresh pomegranate seeds, as well as your roasted butternut squash. Usually I do avocado on here as well, but since we're doing a meal prep, it will go brown in the fridge after a while, so you can just like put that on it when you're actually eating it. For this week, I actually just used a store-bought organic Caesar dressing that I've used in the past and I really like. I'll link that down below. But yeah, use whatever dressing you like. It doesn't even have to be Caesar. But yeah, the salad is so delicious and hearty. I think you're really gonna like it if you haven't tried it already. Okay, then last but not least, we're making a super easy and vegetarian friendly mushroom gravy. And everyone always asks like what my guilty pleasure is, and it's gravy. My first job was actually KFC, and probably started working there because I just wanted to eat gravy all day for free. But yeah, this is a much better version, healthier and super flavorful. You're gonna heat up a bit of olive oil on low to medium heat. Add in your onions and fresh sage and then just saute that for about a minute or so. And then you can add in your sliced up mushrooms, all your seasonings, and then just saute it for about 5 to 8 minutes until the mushrooms kind of cook down and start to get a little bit brown. Next, add in some white wine and a little bit of apple cider vinegar, stir it all together, and then you just want to cook that for another minute or so before adding in your broth. And then just cook this on a simmer for about 15 minutes so that most of the moisture evaporates. So once your gravy is reduced a bit, you can make yourself a little slurry. And basically for this, all you need to do is take a little bit of some arrowroot starch. You can use cornstarch as well, but I like using arrowroot starch, and then I'll mix it with a little bit of water and just kind of whisk it together. So that way your starch will dissolve before you add it in to your gravy, or else you're gonna get like these like lumps of starch in your gravy, which is not sexy. So just kind of whisk that right into the gravy once your slurry is done being mixed, and then I just let it cook for another couple of minutes, and then once everything is done, I just remove it from the heat and I melt in a little bit of butter, and then this just kind of helps bring it all together and makes it really creamy and rich and decadent, and I feel like all those are the same meaning, but really, really good, guys. And then just let it cool slightly, and as it cools, it's all gonna thicken and look delicious and look like gravy, but there's no meat or like nasty stuff that you usually find in those like packages. Yeah, and you can even store this in ice cube trays and just like thaw them whenever you need them, or you can just like throw it in the fridge and reheat it. It reheats really well, so perfect for leftovers. Okay, so what dish was your favorite that I made in today's video? Leave me a comment down below. I feel like mine was probably the gravy, but I may be biased because I just love gravy on everything. But yeah, let me know which meal prep video you would like to see next. Make sure to vote in the poll in the top right hand corner. That's gonna be the video that I'm gonna do for January, because for December, I'm actually doing a family meal prep video that's gonna be really delicious, so stay tuned for that. And I'm also doing some giveaways for the month of December over on Facebook, Instagram, and my email list subscriber fans. So be sure to subscribe to my newsletter. I'll have a link down below, and then also make sure to follow me on Facebook and Instagram so you know how to enter. Basically, I'm going to be giving away some of my favorite HealthNut approved goodies that I want to share with you guys. So thank you so much for watching. I love you guys so much, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys, happy meal prepping.